If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I post a new Tom Brady video every day.
Bruce Arians did it again.
I get credit, and Brady gets way too much credit for what Byron does with our offense. And one of the reasons I hope he gets all the credit he deserves this year to get a head coaching gig. You know, he had about 4 or 5 teams real interested last year.
And this isn't where you cuss a guy out. That's one of those little knife twists. It's not the cussing out along with everyone else on the team. Tom Brady's used to that. He got it in New England.
This now opens up a question as to who really deserves the most credit for the Buccaneers' success. And so, Nink, I'll go with you first here, our resident Patriot. Do you think Tom Brady gets too much credit for what the Buccaneers were able to accomplish offensively?
That is now 8 times that Bruce Arians, since he and Tom Brady have joined at the hip, that he has either marginalized him, criticized him, or said he's not that important, he gets too much credit.
Doesn't the quarterback that throws the football and actually throws the passes to score touchdowns get most of the credit? So, I mean, you look at the Saints and Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees got a lot of credit for all the things that he was able to do. So I understand a little bit where he's coming from. Yes, of course, the quarterback is going to have more of the focal point and more of the credit for the things that he does on the football field. But Leftwich obviously was there, you know, even before Tom got there. So when Tom arrived, it was a better marriage between the quarterback and the OC, and they had better production. So I'd say they both get a good amount of credit, but Tom definitely gets more because he's doing the actual throwing of the football.
Bruce Arians just sounds like a Tom Brady hater, personally. I don't know why you need to discredit someone in order to build someone else up.
Tom Brady, you can't limit how important he's been in Tampa.
He does get a lot of the credit, but he deserves it all.
In the 10 years in Tampa before Brady arrived, they had 2 winning seasons and never won a playoff game. Tom Brady arrived, they won a Super Bowl and vied for it.
I can't believe we're giving Brady credit for anything at this point because it feels like he goes somewhere and he touches gold.
They were 7-9 with the GM, the coach, the D-line, the linebacker. Brady is the reason.
There are palm trees in Florida, so there's a little bit of shade in these comments from Bruce Arians toward Tom Brady, but I think it's more about being able to being a billboard or a campaign for his offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, and wanting him to get a head coaching gig.
Brady is the singular reason the Tampa mess in the last decade has been interesting.
You live and die by your quarterback. When they're good, we praise them. When they're terrible, we blame them for every single problem on the team.
It's those little public knife twists. It's calling him out for interceptions in press conferences. Sometimes calling him out for interceptions that aren't his fault. It hit the receiver in the hands and he dropped it. Remember that? That happened at one point this past season.
Right. Yeah.
Called him out for an interception that was not his fault.
Right.
It was not his fault. The guy dropped the ball. How do you call him out for that?
It just sounds like there's an element of jealousy around this whole thing about the power that Tom Brady had.
The credit goes to the quarterback when they win, yes, and when they lose, and they against the quarterback when they lose, because it's a hyper-focused quarterback league. If you don't have a quarterback, that's why they're getting paid so much money. So they went out, they got Tom Brady, they won a Super Bowl. It's exactly what you want. Leftwich will be a head coach. He will. Mark my words. He will be a head coach in the future. Maybe next year, maybe 2 years, but he'll be a head coach.
Stop minimizing what Brady meant. Stop. It was like 7-8 times now. We counted. You can put them on the old bulletin board. 7-8 times Bruce Arians has tried to marginalize or minimize the impact of Tom Brady. We can stop now. Tom Brady has not gotten way too much credit. Tom Brady deserves a majority of the credit for tuning a losing franchise who'd had good coaches and good players, but never had a legitimate Hall of Fame quarterback. They get him. They win a Super Bowl in a pandemic. They vied for a Super Bowl this year, and they'll be an NFC favorite with the Rams next year. That is singularly Tom Brady, regardless of who and how talented they are around him.
Bruce Arians gets on Tom Brady way too often. Way too often. And I have seen it from middle of the season, beginning of the season, now off season. He's constantly kind of throwing a little bit of shade at Tom Brady. And I'm not here for it. Because if Bruce Arians wants, now I know he's no longer the head coach there in Tampa Bay, he should have started Blaine Gabbert if he's got all these issues with Tom Brady. And so I just don't like the constant shade for TB12.
Arians knows what he's doing, says what he says, and then if anybody asks him about, well, what are you talking about? I chew out everybody and we golf.
Yeah,
that's the fallback. Oh, there's no problem. I chew out everybody and we golf. But he does those little things like that. That's a little, Tom gets way too much credit for the offense. He's the quarterback, for crying out loud. I mean, do you think Byron Leftwich would put together the kind of offense that they had if he didn't have Tom Brady? You think they would have done this with Jameis Winston or Blaine Gabbert? Hell no.
Well, no. I mean, they wouldn't have had the results, certainly. Not the same results.
Byron Leftwich will be a head coach. Mark my words. He's going to be a head coach, and he's benefited from having Tom Brady as the quarterback come in. If Byron Leftwich was trying to put in this game plan with a Bortles or somebody else or a rookie, I think it would have been a lot harder for him. I mean, look, we saw him with Jameis when he had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. So, having Tom Brady has definitely helped Byron probably in his career get a head coaching job. So I think that next year we will see Byron Leftwich be a head coach of a football team.
I believe offensive coordinators that are good, like a Byron Leftwich, is so much more important than particular players. So when you decide to go with a defensive coordinator as your head coach that have former head coaching experience that you have a relationship with, doesn't mean you don't value Byron Leftwich. It just means that this guy is ready to go right now, and Tom Brady only has, who knows how long he has to play, but you figure he's only going to play 1 or 2 years left, year to year. That's the situation, Jay.
Well, and Rob, you played with Brady. Do you think he really pays attention to these types of comments?
No, I mean, I think Tom probably agrees. Like, I get a lot of the credit here, and Leftwich has been a huge part of the success that I had transitioning from New England, coming here. And look, their team now and their coaching staff is really built by a lot of ex-players. So, I could say as a player myself, when I would have a coach who had some experience in the NFL, it was a little bit different coming from somebody like, hey, I know cover 2, I know cover 3, I've seen it with my own eyes. I know this play does not work. Well, Tom, what play works? I understand that. So having a coach that played, I think, is a little bit more powerful. And, there's great coaches that have never played a down of football and never made a tackle. But, coming from a guy that's been there, done that, I think that those two and the combination of that relationship with Tom and Leftwich, I think that was a great thing for success. And look, they won a Super Bowl because of it.
I don't understand why you need to discredit Tom Brady. If Tom Brady were some middle of the market quarterback that you came in and you elevated, I get it. But you can build up Byron Leftwich without saying Tom Brady's name or discrediting him. It sounds like there is an element of jealousy there whenever I hear Bruce Arians talk about it.
In terms of how much credit Tom Brady deserves there with the Buccaneers, over 75% of their offensive plays are through the air. Yes, he deserves some of the credit. He's the one throwing the ball. And so I know Bruce Arians, again, is just trying to lift up Byron Leftwich.
Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe as I post a new Tom Brady video every day.